Hello everyone. This tutorial will be used to review three things that you typically do when you're setting up any file to do analysis in Excel. Those include making a backup copy of your data, getting the filter options set up so that they are easy to access, and finally freezing the top header row so that it doesn't disappear as you scroll around on your screen. So let's talk about the first one. One of the things that you need to make sure that you always do is that you save a backup copy. In fact, I'm going to go in here and under File and down to Save As. And what I'm going to do is change the title of the file that I'm going to be saving here as the working copy. So the point here is that there's the potential that you could mess up the data in some way, and if that happens, you may not be able to recognize it, and you would continue doing your work, and all of the data could be scrambled, for example. So what you want to do is always save a backup copy, and actually the backup copy is always the original, is what I would recommend, and then the copy that you make becomes the working copy that you work in. So I'm going to save that. That then allows me to continue to work in the data set here, but my original copy is untouched. So I can always go back and open that up and double check and see if anything has changed from my original, or I could always trash the new one and go back to the original, make a new copy, and start that again. So the first lesson is always make a backup copy of your data and never work in the original, work only in the backup copy. The second thing I want to talk about is the fact that as you start scrolling around, the top row here, and this is row number 1, is the header row. That's got the titles of all of the columns in there. That's the key to figuring out exactly what is represented by an individual cell. And so as I begin to scroll down into the data, you can see that my header row disappears. And that's quite inconvenient. It would be nice if that header row were always there. So if I come back up, I'm going to take my cursor and on the left-hand side, go right on top of the row 2 title there, and I'm going to click on row 2. Now what this is going to do in Excel is going to allow me to freeze the panes. So I can go up to, in this case on the Mac, it's Window and down to Freeze Panes. By making that selection, it has just frozen anything that's above the row that I've selected. So basically, since I clicked in row 2, that means that row 1 and anything above that will now remain stationary. So as I begin to scroll, you can see that my header row remains there. That makes it very convenient. So as I scroll down deep into the data, I can always keep track of what each row is standing for. So the next thing I want to do then is get this ready to do some sorting and filtering. For example, it would be nice if I could keep the grades arranged by grade kindergarten, then first, then second, then third, everything in order. Now there may be times I don't want that, but to begin with, that's the way we've got it set up here. By the way, it may be a little confusing. If you look in the 045 year, you see a number 21. We would have expected that to be kindergarten. But what you can do is go to the codes, click on that codes tab, and you will see that in kindergarten there are some variations for kindergarten students. Some kids have kindergarten every other day, some have it all day, every day, and then there's a Kindergarten Plus program. And so there are different codes to designate the different kinds of kindergarten programs that students are participating in. So that's why you're going to see the number 21. That represents a particular kind of schedule that this kindergarten group of students had. But what I want to make sure that we can do here, once we have our title row in place, I also want to be able to assign filters to each of those columns. So if I come up and select that first row, I can now click on my filter icon, and there are a number of different ways you can get to this. On the Mac, I can click on the Data menu item at the top, and I can see Filter right there. I can click on this filter icon that shows, or I can come down here to the Home row. I can click on Data, and I have a third way that I can add filters. Any one of those three ways will do. On the Windows side, you're going to find the same kinds of options are available to you, and the filter looks like a little funnel. So what we're going to do is simply click on Filter, and you can see that my top header row now has a black triangle in the lower right-hand corner for every one of those columns. So as I scroll up and down, my header row stays there because I've frozen the panes, and now it also has this little black triangle. If I pick any row, for example here I'm going to come to Primary Disability, which is column I. If I click on that triangle, it brings down a little box, and that box has some options. So this is where I can sort the data or I can filter the data, and the difference is sorting puts things in a particular order. For example, I could have all of this appear in ascending order. So this would be item 1, then item 2, then item 3, all in order. Or descending order, starting with the highest number and going to the lowest number. There are a variety of ways that you can sort. Filtering is where you would pick only one of the data items. So let's just say that Primary Disability 07, whatever that happens to be, I could come down here and I could unselect all. I could scroll down and I could say I only want to look at students that have the 07 special ed classification, and all of the rest of my data disappears. So I have right now only the 07 students showing. If I click down here on codes, I could then see that Primary Disability 07 is a specific learning disability, SLD students. So that's what I have filtered for, and the nice thing is now I don't have all the other data in the way, only the students that have that classification are showing up. I can come back here and I can clear that filter by clicking on that black triangle area once again, and all of my data reappears. So that's the advantage of filtering, is you can really simplify what you're looking at down to just the one item you want to concentrate on. And one thing you do want to remember is when you have filtered a particular group, if you want to get back to seeing everybody else, you're going to have to re-click on that little triangle area and clear that filter. So that should be all of the items you need to get this ready for any kind of analysis that you want to do to begin with. Those three things: make sure you've got your data backed up, be sure that you have frozen that top row so that it doesn't disappear as you scroll, and turn your filters on. There's much less opportunity for scrambling the data if you use a filtering approach, the auto filter as this is called, rather than trying to go in and do manual sorts.